At 3 in the morning, my phone vibrated on the nightstand. It was a message from my daughter, Danielle. "Mom, I know you paid $280,000 for this house, but my mother-in-law doesn't want you at Christmas dinner. I hope you understand." I read those words 3 times. Each one hurt more than the last. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the glowing screen in the darkness, feeling something inside me break for the last time. At that hour of the morning, everything feels heavier. The silences hurt more. The truths we've carried for years become unbearable. I had paid $280,000 so my daughter and her husband could have a decent home, a house with a yard, with space for the children they would one day have, with big windows where the morning sun would come in. A house where apparently I was no longer welcome. I got up slowly without turning on the light. I walked to the window and looked at the empty street. The neighbors' Christmas lights blinked weakly in the distance. I thought about all the times I had stayed silent, all the times I had smiled when something hurt me, all the times I had said, "It's okay," when nothing was okay. My name is Emily Carter. I am 58 years old, and that morning, December 15th, something changed in me forever. I picked up my phone and wrote a single word: understood. But what nobody knew, not my daughter, not her husband, and certainly not the mother-in-law who had erased me from the Christmas table, is that the house was still in my name. I had paid every cent I had signed the deed, and that morning, tired of being invisible, of being used, of being the one who always gives in, I made a decision that would change everyone's Christmas. I wasn't going to that dinner, that was for sure, but neither were they. No one was prepared for what was coming, because sometimes when a woman is tired, she doesn't scream. She simply acts. And the consequences are inevitable. Sometimes we trust the wrong people too much. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. 4 years ago, when Danielle introduced me to Michael, I was happy. My daughter had found a polite, hard-working man, an engineer who spoke about projects and the future with that confidence that reassures a mother. I remember the afternoon they came to my house to tell me they were getting married. Danielle was wearing a light blue dress. She had that spark in her eyes that only true love can give. "Mom, I want you to meet Michael's family next Sunday," she told me, squeezing my hand. I prepared my absolute best meal: a slow-cooked brisket, roasted potatoes, and the apple pie my own mother had taught me to make. I set the table with the embroidered tablecloth I saved for special occasions. They arrived on time: Michael, his father, David, and her, Linda. A tall woman with perfectly styled hair with that kind of elegance that intimidates. She wore a pearl necklace and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "A pleasure, Mrs. Carter," she said, shaking my hand coldly. "What a cozy home." Cozy. That word stuck with me. She didn't say lovely, she didn't say warm. She said cozy, which is what people say when they mean small. During the meal, Linda barely touched the brisket. "Oh, I just have a delicate stomach," she said, touching her chest. "I can't handle heavy foods." Michael ate with gusto. David complimented me on the pie, but she looked at everything as if she were evaluating it. The house, the furniture, me. When they left, Danielle hugged me at the door. "Aren't they wonderful, Mom?" I smiled and nodded, but something inside me had already noticed that look, that way of making me feel small. Still, I kept quiet, because a mother does anything for her daughter's happiness, even swallowing the first warning signs. The wedding was beautiful. I paid for Danielle's dress, a gorgeous design she had seen in a downtown boutique, $5,000 that I took from my savings without a second thought. Linda organized the reception in an elegant ballroom. Everything was impeccable: white flowers, golden lights, a dessert table straight out of a magazine. But when it came time for the toasts, Michael only mentioned his parents. "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for giving us this unforgettable party." Danielle looked for me from the head table. I smiled at her and raised my glass. "It's okay, honey," I mouthed without a voice. But it wasn't okay, and I was beginning to understand that. Months later, when Danielle and Michael celebrated their first anniversary, they invited me to dinner at their rented apartment. It was small, but they had decorated it with love. "Mom, we have to tell you something," Danielle said, taking Michael's hand. "We want to buy a house," he continued, "but we can't cover the full down payment." Danielle looked at me with those eyes I had known since she was a child. "Mom, do you think you could help us?" I had worked for 32 years as an accountant at an import company. I had saved every dollar with discipline. I had lived alone since my husband died 10 years ago. That money was for my retirement, for my peace of mind, so I wouldn't depend on anyone. But when Danielle looked at me, "How much do you need?" It was the only thing I said. As I tell this story, I think about where you might be listening. Write the name of your city in the comments. $280,000. That was the amount I took from my savings. It wasn't everything I had, but it was most of it. The result of 32 years of waking up at 6 in the morning, taking 2 buses to get to the office, working overtime when needed. The money that was going to give me peace of mind when I could no longer work. The money that meant freedom. But when I saw Danielle's face when I said yes, it was all worth it. Or so I thought. The house was in a quiet residential area on the outskirts of the city. It had 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, a yard with a lemon tree, and a large kitchen with windows looking out back. It was perfect. The day we went to see it, Danielle walked through the empty rooms with her hands on her chest, smiling like a little girl. "This will be our room, Mom. And this bedroom here," she stopped at the smallest room by the window, "this one will be for you." I stood still. "For me? Of course, Mom," Danielle said, hugging me. "You're helping us with the house. It's only fair that you have your own space when you come to visit, or when you want to stay over." Michael nodded from the hallway. "Absolutely, Emily. This house is yours too." I felt my heart fill up. Maybe everything was going to be okay. Maybe this investment wasn't just about money, but about a place where I also belonged. We signed the papers at the closing in late March. I put my name as the primary owner. Danielle and Michael were listed as beneficiaries. But legally, the house was in my name. My lawyer, an older man who had handled my taxes for years, had advised me. "Emily, if you are going to put up that amount of money, protect yourself," he told me. "Keep the property in your name for at least 2 years. You can transfer it later if you want, but for now, protect yourself." I nodded, although deep down I felt guilty for even thinking it. What kind of mother distrusts her own daughter? When I told Danielle that the house would temporarily remain in my name, she didn't object. "That's perfect, Mom. It's your money after all. When we can pay you back, we'll do the transfer." But that night, Michael called his mother. I was in Danielle's kitchen making coffee when I heard his voice in the living room. "Yes, Mom. Yes, Emily is going to provide the money." Silence. "No, Mom, it's not distrust. It's just her lawyer recommended it." Another silence. "Yes, I know, but we can't say anything. Without her money, there's no house." A chill ran down my spine. I went back to the living room with the coffee tray as if I hadn't heard a thing, but something had already changed. Over the next few months, I helped Danielle and Michael furnish the house. I bought the refrigerator, the washing machine. I paid for half of the living room set. I also gave them a wooden dining table I found in an antique shop. It was beautiful with room for 8 people. "So we can have big family dinners, honey," I told Danielle as the movers carried it in. She hugged me tight. "You're the best mom in the world." The first time I went to stay in my room, I arrived on a Friday afternoon with a small suitcase and a cheesecake I had made that morning. I rang the doorbell. Danielle opened the door, but she had a strange expression. "Mom? You didn't tell me you were coming." "Yes, honey. I sent you a message yesterday." "Oh, I must not have seen it. It's just—" She looked back inside. Michael invited his parents over for dinner. And there she was, Linda, sitting in the living room I had helped furnish, sipping from a porcelain teacup. She looked me up and down. Emily, what a surprise. She didn't get up to greet me. "Good evening, Linda," I said, walking in with my suitcase. "Mom, you're staying in your room, right?" Danielle asked nervously. "Because Linda is already settled in the guest room." I froze. The guest room. The room Danielle had told me was my room. "Of course, honey. No problem," I said with that smile that was already starting to hurt. I went up to my room, but when I opened the door I realized it wasn't empty like last time. There were boxes piled against the wall, old clothes belonging to Michael hanging in the closet, an exercise bike in one corner. My room had become a storage closet. I sat on the edge of the bed and took a deep breath. "Don't cry. Emily, don't cry." I went downstairs half an hour later holding the cheesecake. "I brought cheesecake," I said, trying to sound cheerful. Linda wrinkled her nose. "Oh, what a shame, Emily. I brought a French lemon tart from a boutique bakery. We already put it in the fridge." Michael avoided my gaze. Danielle took the cake from my hands. "Thanks, Mom. We'll save it for tomorrow." But I knew they wouldn't eat it. During dinner, Linda talked non-stop about her social club, her trips, how expensive everything was. David nodded at his wife's every comment. Michael laughed at the right moments. Danielle served the food in silence. And I was there sitting at the table I had bought in the house I had paid for, feeling invisible. At one point, Linda pointed to the living room curtains. "Danielle, darling, those curtains are just too simple. I know a divine shop that sells imported ones from Spain. I'll get them for you for Christmas." "Oh, Linda, how sweet," Danielle said. "It's just that this house has so much potential," Linda continued. "It just needs a few touches of good taste." Good taste. As if everything I had contributed lacked it. I got up from the table. "Excuse me, I have a bit of a headache. I'm going to lie down." No one protested. I went up to my room, lay down on the comforter, and stared at the ceiling in silence. I didn't cry that night, but something inside me began to crack. Something that with time could no longer be repaired. Because you can put up with a lot of things, but feeling invisible in the very place you built, that hurts in a way that has no name. And the worst part was, it was only just beginning. The months that followed were a series of small wounds. Wounds so subtle that at first I convinced myself I was exaggerating, that it was my imagination, that I was just too sensitive. But the pain was real. Danielle started calling me less. We used to talk every day, even if it was just for 10 minutes before bed. Now, 3-4 days would go by without hearing from her. When I called sometimes, she wouldn't answer. When she did answer, she was always in a hurry. "Mom, I'll call you later. I'm at the supermarket with my mother-in-law." "Mom, I can't talk right now. We're going out to eat with Michael's parents." "Mom, I'll tell you later. We're going to Linda's house to look at fabric swatches for the cushions." Linda, always Linda. One Saturday afternoon, I dared to ask her, "Honey, do we not do our Sunday coffees anymore?" There was an uncomfortable silence on the other end of the line. "Oh, Mom, it's just that on Sundays Michael and I have breakfast with his parents. You know it's a family tradition for them." "I understand," I said, even though I didn't understand at all. "What if I come with you one Sunday?" Another silence. "It's just, Linda is very particular about that, Mom. You know it's her time with Michael." Her time with Michael. Michael was no longer just my daughter's husband. He was now Linda's son, who just happened to be married to Danielle. "It's okay, honey. Don't worry about it," I said, with that voice that was starting to sound fake even to me. I hung up and sat in my living room looking at the photograph of Danielle at her graduation. She was 22 in that picture, wearing her navy blue cap and gown, holding her business degree with a huge smile. I was by her side, hugging her. That day she had told me, "Mom, everything I am is because of you." When did that change? I decided I needed to make an effort. Maybe I was the one pulling away without realizing it. Maybe I needed to be more present, more flexible, more agreeable. So I started bringing them food every week. On Tuesdays after work, I would prepare something special and drop it off. Chicken casserole, meatballs, and sauce tortilla soup, beef stew with vegetables. Things I knew Danielle had loved since she was a girl. The first few times she received the containers with joy. "Oh, Mom, thank you. It smells delicious." But little by little, her enthusiasm faded. One afternoon, when I arrived with a chili that had taken me 3 hours to prepare, Danielle opened the door looking tired. "Mom, I already told you don't need to cook so much." "I like doing it, honey. Besides, I know you work hard, and this way you don't have to worry about dinner." "It's just, Linda brings us food too," she said, lowering her voice, "and the fridge is already full." I stood there holding the container. "Do you want me to take it back?" "No, leave it. I'll find space." But I saw in her eyes that it was an annoyance, that my food, my effort, my love was an annoyance. I went inside for a moment to put the container in the kitchen, and there in the refrigerator I saw the elegant glass containers with printed labels. Linda's risotto, Linda's Mediterranean salad, Linda's berry dessert. My chili in its faded plastic container looked sad next to all that impeccable presentation. "The chili is delicious, Mom," Danielle said behind me. "Really?" But her voice didn't sound convincing. I drove back to my apartment with a lump in my throat. I didn't cry. I was learning not to cry. In October, Danielle had her birthday, 28. I had planned everything weeks in advance. I made a reservation at a restaurant she loved, the same one where we had celebrated her last 5 birthdays. I invited her 2 best friends from college, my sister Teresa, and of course Michael. I sent her the digital invitation a week early. Danielle called me that same night. "Mom, the invitation is beautiful, but there's a problem." That "but" hit me like a stone in my stomach. "It's just, Linda already organized a surprise dinner for me at her house on the same day." "The same day?" "Yes. She didn't know you had already planned something." "Danielle, I sent you the invitation a week ago, and we've been talking about this dinner for a month." "I know, Mom, I know. But it's just, everything is already set. She invited Michael's whole family. She hired a caterer. She ordered a cake. I can't tell her no." "But you can tell me no." The words came out before I could stop them. There was a long silence. "Mom, it's not like that." "Then how is it, Danielle?" "You can cancel the restaurant. Linda already paid for everything." I felt something break in my chest. "You know what, honey? You're right. Go to your mother-in-law's dinner. I'll cancel the restaurant." "Mom, don't be angry." "I'm not angry, Danielle. I understand perfectly." I hung up before she could reply. I canceled the reservation. I lost the $100 deposit. I sent a message to my sister Teresa and Danielle's friends. "Dinner is canceled. Last-minute change of plans." That night, I sat in my dining room alone and took out the gift I had bought for Danielle. It was a silver bracelet with a heart-shaped charm. Inside the heart, engraved in tiny letters, it said, "Mother and daughter, always." I put it back in its velvet box, and I put it in my dresser drawer, where I kept all the things that I wasn't sure had meaning anymore. On Danielle's birthday, she sent me a photo from the dinner at Linda's house. A long table decorated with gold and white balloons, a 3-tiered cake with sugar flowers, Michael hugging Danielle, Linda posing next to them with a triumphant smile. The message said, "Missed you, Mom, but it was beautiful. Thanks for understanding." I replied, "Happy birthday, honey. God bless you always." I didn't mention the canceled dinner. I didn't mention the lost deposit. I didn't mention the gift hidden in my drawer. Because that's what mothers do, right? We swallow the pain. We smile and we say everything is fine, even when something inside is dying. November arrived with an unusual chill. Danielle called me on a Wednesday night. "Mom, do you have plans for Christmas?" My heart skipped a beat. Christmas. Our tradition. Ever since Danielle was a little girl, we spent Christmas Eve together. We'd make cookies, stuff the turkey, play carols. It was our time. "Well, I thought we'd spend it together like always," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's just, this year is going to be different, Mom." Different. That word again. Linda wants to host Christmas dinner at our house. She says she's getting older and the stairs at her house are too much for her. So we thought it would be nice to have it at the new house. Our house, the house I paid for. "I see," I said. "And me? You're coming, of course. You're part of the family." I breathed a sigh of relief. "Okay, honey. I'll bring the sweet potato casserole and the eggnog like always." Mom, it's just that Linda already has the whole menu planned. She's bringing everything. But I always make the casserole for Christmas, Danielle." "I know, Mom, but you know how she is. She likes everything to be a certain way." A certain way, her way. "What if I just bring the eggnog?" "Mom, really don't worry about it. Just come and enjoy yourself. You don't have to bring anything." You don't have to bring anything. Except I was no longer welcome. Except my place at that table was already being occupied by someone else. But I didn't know that yet. I still believed that if I made myself smaller, more invisible, more obedient, I could still fit into my daughter's life. How wrong I was. I still wonder if I did the right thing by staying quiet for so long. What about you? What would you have done in my place? December arrived with that air of hope that Christmas brings. The streets filled with lights, the stores played carols, and I tried to convince myself that everything would be fine, that Christmas dinner at Danielle's house would be a new beginning, that Linda and I could get along better if I just made the effort, that maybe, just maybe this Christmas would bring us together as a family. How naive I was. On December 10th, I went to the mall to buy Danielle her Christmas gift. I walked through the bright hallways, watching young couples carrying bags, children pointing at toys, families taking pictures by the giant tree. I felt terribly alone, but I kept walking. I went into an elegant jewelry store. There I found a set of silver earrings and a necklace with blue stones. Danielle had always loved blue. "It's for my daughter," I told the saleswoman. "What a beautiful gift," she replied, smiling. "She's going to love it." I paid $230 money that was getting harder to part with because my savings were dwindling. But I didn't care. I still believed my love could be bought with presents. That same afternoon, while I was having a coffee in the food court, my phone rang. It was my sister Teresa. "Emily, are you busy?" "No, I'm at the mall. Is something wrong?" "I need to tell you something, and I don't know if I should, but I think you have a right to know." My heart sped up. "What is it, Teresa?" "Last night I was at the grocery store and I saw Danielle with Linda. And they were in the Christmas decoration aisle. I was about to go say hello, but then I heard what they were talking about." Teresa paused. "What did you hear?" "Linda was telling Danielle that your presence at Christmas dinner made her uncomfortable." I felt the floor move beneath my feet. "What?" "Yes, Emily. She said, 'Danielle, darling, I understand she's your mother, but the truth is, I just don't feel comfortable with her at family gatherings. She's just, how do I put this? Very simple. She doesn't fit in with our crowd.'" I closed my eyes. Simple. That word stabbed me like a knife. "And what did Danielle say?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. Teresa sighed. "Danielle didn't defend you, Emily. She just stayed quiet. And then she said, 'I know, Linda, but I can't just tell her not to come. She's my mom. But I can't tell her not to come.' As if I were an obligation, as if my presence was a burden. 'Are you there, Emily?' 'Yes, I'm here.' 'I'm so sorry, sis, but I thought you should know.' 'Thank you, Teresa.' I hung up. I just sat there at that table in the food court, surrounded by Christmas cheer, my coffee getting cold in front of me. And for the first time in months, I felt something different than pain. I felt rage. I couldn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned, replaying every conversation, every gesture, every word I had ignored. The "I'll call you laters" that never came. The "you don't need to come" wrapped in fake smiles. The "Linda already organized it" that erased me from every plan. My daughter was pushing me away, and I had been too cowardly to see it. At 2 a.m, I got up and turned on my computer. I opened my email and searched for the house documents, the deed, the purchase agreement, the wire transfer receipts for the $280,000. Everything was in my name. I was the sole legal owner of that house. Danielle and Michael were only residents who, according to the contract, had an obligation to include me in the family use of the property. My lawyer had included that clause. I hadn't even paid attention to it at the time. But now it made perfect sense. I printed the documents and put them in a folder. I didn't know why, I just knew I needed them close. The next few days were strange. Danielle called a couple of times as usual with that hurried voice, but I didn't hear it the same way. Now I noticed every awkward pause, every change of subject when I mentioned Christmas dinner, every "I have to go" that came too quickly. On December 14th, I decided to stop by the house unannounced. I needed to see my daughter. I needed to look her in the eyes and ask her if what Teresa heard was true. I rang the bell at 11 a.m. Michael opened the door wearing sweatpants, a surprised look on his face. "Emily, good morning. We weren't expecting you." I came to see Danielle. Is she here? Yeah, she's upstairs. Come on in. I walked into the house. My house. The living room was different. They had put up new curtains, an elegant beige color, the ones Linda had promised to buy. The sofa I had helped pay for was covered in embroidered cushions I had never seen. On the mantel there was a large picture frame. I got closer. It was a family photo. Michael, Danielle, David, and Linda all smiling in front of Linda's Christmas tree. I looked for my photo, the picture of the two of us at her graduation, the one that used to be on that same mantel. It was gone. Emily. I turned around. Danielle was coming down the stairs in her pajamas, her hair a mess. Mom, did something happen? I came to see you, honey. Can't I come see you? Of course you can, it's just, you should have let me know. Why, Danielle? So you could tell me you were busy. She fell silent. We sat in the living room awkwardly like two strangers. Mom, are you okay? You seem strange. Strange. Yeah, like angry. I took a deep breath. Danielle, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer me with the truth. She tensed up. What is it? Did Linda tell you she doesn't want me at the Christmas dinner? The color drained from her face. Who told you that? Danielle, just answer the question. Is it true? She bit her lip. She looked toward the stairs where Michael had discreetly disappeared. Mom, it's complicated. No, Danielle, it's not complicated. It's a simple question, yes or no. She has her ideas, Mom. You know how she is. She thinks family gatherings should be a certain way. A certain way? What does that mean? Mom, please don't do this to me. Do what Danielle asked if I still have a place in your life. Of course you have a place. Then why are you excluding me from your Christmas? I'm not excluding you. Then what is happening? Danielle stood up from the sofa, frustrated. Mom, you just don't understand. Linda is... She's important to Michael, and I can't be on bad terms with her. She's very sensitive. If I do something she doesn't like, she gets upset and stops talking to us for weeks. And Michael suffers. And I suffer seeing Michael suffer. And me, do I not matter? You're my mom. You're always going to be there. I'm always going to be there. Even when you erase me from your photos. Even when you reject my food. Even when you cancel our traditions. Don't be dramatic. Those words hit me like a slap. Dramatic. Yes, Mom, you're making a problem out of nothing. Danielle, that woman doesn't want me at Christmas dinner, in the house that I paid for. Oh, Mom, stop. It's always the same thing. You always bring up the money. Because it's the truth. Well, if it bothers you so much, then take your damn money. The silence that followed was deafening. Danielle covered her mouth, realizing what she'd said. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't... I stood up slowly. I grabbed my purse. No, Danielle, you're right. Mom, don't listen to me. I'm just stressed. It's okay, honey. I understand everything now. I walked to the door. Mom, wait. I didn't stop. I left that house. I got in my car, and I drove to my apartment, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I got home, I sat at my dining room table and took out my phone. I found my lawyer's contact information, and I wrote, Mr. Romero, I need urgent advice regarding the property that is in my name. Can you see me tomorrow? The reply came in 5 minutes. Of course, Emily. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. in my office. Is everything all right? I didn't answer. Because no, nothing was all right. And I had just realized that I had been swallowing a pain that no longer fit inside my chest. But something had changed. That pain was turning into clarity. And clarity sometimes is the most dangerous thing a woman who has been underestimated for too long can have. The next morning I woke up at 6. I had hardly slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Danielle's voice. Well, if it bothers you so much, then take your damn money. Those words had pierced my soul, not because of the anger, but because of the truth they contained. To my daughter, my sacrifice had become a reproach, my love a burden. And I had become an obstacle. I made coffee I couldn't finish. I showered on autopilot. I put on a gray pantsuit I hadn't worn in months. I needed to feel strong. I needed to feel worthy, even if I was in pieces inside. At 9:30, I was at Mr. Romero's office. He received me with his usual kindness. He was a man in his late 60s, gray-haired with thick glasses and that reassuring seriousness. "Emily, come in. Sit down. Can I offer you some coffee?" "No, thank you, Mr. Romero. I already had one." "Very well. Tell me what brings you here. Your message yesterday sounded urgent." I took out the folder with the house documents. I placed them on his desk. "Mr. Romero, I need you to explain exactly what my rights are over this property." He opened the folder and began to review the papers carefully. Several minutes passed in silence. The only sound was the rustling of the pages. Finally, he took off his glasses and looked at me. "Emily, you are the absolute legal owner of this property. Your name appears as the sole owner on the deed. Danielle and Michael have no ownership rights. They are only listed as authorized residents." "What does that mean exactly?" "It means you can do whatever you deem appropriate with this house. You can sell it, rent it, or ask them to vacate. Just like that. Just like that. You put up the money, you signed, the house is yours." I felt a chill. "And them, they can't do anything?" "No, not unless you sign some private agreement promising them the property, which I don't see here. Is there anything like that?" "No, just verbal agreements. I told them I would transfer it to them someday when they could pay me back." "Are there witnesses to that?" "Just the three of us." "Then there is nothing legally binding. Emily, that house is yours to do with as you please." I remained silent, processing his words. "Mr. Romero, can I sell it without their consent?" "Yes." "Can I ask them to leave?" "Yes. You just need to give them formal notice. Since they are there without paying rent and without a contract, you can request eviction with 30 days' notice." 30 days. And if I wanted to sell the house immediately? He looked at me intently. "Is the situation that serious, Emily?" I didn't answer with words, but my eyes said it all. He sighed. "Look, legally you can, but I understand this is your daughter. I would recommend you think it through. These decisions have emotional consequences that go beyond the legal." "There are no emotions left to protect, Mr. Romero. They've already made that very clear to me. Do you want me to prepare the sales documents?" I fell silent. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to sell my daughter's house? I thought of Danielle, her happy face the day she first saw that house, her decoration plans, her dreams of starting a family there. But then I thought of the family photo I had been excluded from. The room that had become a storage closet, the rejected meals, the canceled birthday dinner, the take your damn money. And above all, I thought about Christmas. The dinner where I was not welcome in the house I paid for at the table I bought where Linda would be the queen. And I wouldn't even have a seat. "Yes, Mr. Romero," I said finally, "prepare the documents." "Are you sure?" "I have never been more sure of anything in my life." He nodded slowly. "Very well. Do you want to list it with an agency, or do you know an interested buyer? I want to sell it as quickly as possible. How long would it take? If we look for a cash buyer, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. There are investors constantly looking for properties like this." 3 or 4 weeks. That would take us to the end of December. "Mr. Romero, what is today's date?" "December 15th. I did the math in my head. "Would it be possible to have the sale closed by December 24th? He looked at me surprised. "That's very little time, Emily, but if we find the right buyer and you're willing to lower the price a bit to speed things up, maybe, yes." "How much would I have to lower it?" "Instead of asking $300,000, you could offer it for $270,000. It's $30,000 less, but the sale would be immediate." $30,000 less. Even so, I would recover almost all my money. And more importantly, I would recover my dignity. "Do it, Mr. Romero. Sell it for $270,000, but I need the deal closed on December 24th, not a day later." "December 24th, Emily? That's Christmas Eve." "I know that perfectly well." We looked at each other in silence. He understood. "All right, I'll do my best. I know some investors who might be interested. I'll let them know it's a cash opportunity. Price negotiable, urgent closing." "Perfect. And the eviction notice. Prepare that as well. But don't deliver it yet. I'll let you know when." "When do you plan to deliver it?" I smiled for the first time in days. A sad smile, but a smile. The afternoon of December 24th, Mr. Romero, right before Christmas dinner. He let out a long sigh. "Emily, are you absolutely sure about this?" "There's no turning back, Mr. Romero. I've spent months making myself smaller to fit into my daughter's life. And you know what I discovered? It doesn't matter how small I make myself. I will never be enough for them. So I decided something better." "What's that?" "I decided to reclaim my full size." I left that office with the folder under my arm and a strange weight in my chest. It wasn't relief. It wasn't sadness either. It was clarity. That cold, sharp clarity that comes when you finally understand that they don't love you the way you love, that they don't value you the way you value, and that sacrifice, when it's not reciprocated, becomes humiliation. The following days were strange. Danielle didn't call me after our fight. I didn't call her either. It was as if we were both waiting for the other to take the first step, but neither of us did. Mr. Romero called me on December 18th. "Emily, I have good news. I found a buyer." My heart skipped. "So quickly?" "Yes, it's an investor who has a fund to buy properties in that area. He was very interested because the house is in excellent condition. He's offering $265,000, cash. $5,000 less than we asked. But the deal can be closed on December 23rd. $265,000. I had invested $280,000. I would lose $15,000, but I would get my piece back." "I accept." "Are you sure we could look for someone to pay the $270,000? "No, Mr. Romero, I accept. I want to close this immediately." "Very well. I'll prepare everything. The closing will be December 23rd at 10 in the morning. Does that work for you?" "Perfect. And the eviction notice?" "I want it ready to deliver on the 24th in the afternoon, around 6 p.m. "Understood. I'll have it ready." I hung up. I sat in my dining room, and for the first time in weeks, I cried. But not from sadness. I cried from liberation. Because I was about to do something I had never done in my life. I was going to choose myself. That night, Danielle finally sent me a message. "Mom, sorry about the other day. I was stressed. You're coming to Christmas dinner, right? We're expecting you at 7 p.m. on the 24th. I read the message 3 times. "We're expecting you." Not, "I want you here." Not, "It's not the same without you." Just, "We're expecting you." Like you expect the plumber or the cable guy or someone providing a service. I replied, "Of course, honey, I'll be there." But I wouldn't be, not in the way she expected. On December 20th, I went to the bank and requested a cashier's check for the amount of the sale, $265,000. The teller looked at me curiously. "That's a lot of money, ma'am. Are you sure you want it in a cashier's check?" "Completely sure." "When do you need the check by call?" "By December 23rd. "Perfect, we'll have it ready." On December 21st, Teresa called me. "Emily, are you going to Danielle's Christmas dinner?" "Yes, I'm going." "Really? I thought after everything that happened—" "Teresa, I'm going to ask you something. Don't ask me any questions. Just trust me." "You're scaring me." "Don't be scared. Things are just going to happen, and I need you to know that I'm okay, that I'm doing the right thing." "What things are going to happen?" "You'll see. I love you, sis." "I love you too, Emily, but I'm worried about you." "Don't worry. For the first time in a long time, I know exactly what I'm doing." On December 22nd, I packed the things I had in my room at Danielle's house. It wasn't much. A few changes of clothes I had left there, a couple of books, a photo of my husband I had put on the nightstand. I put everything in a small bag, and when I walked out of that room, I knew I would never enter it again. On December 23rd, I arrived at Mr. Romero's office at 9:30 in the morning. The buyer was already there. A young man, about 35, impeccable suit leather briefcase. "Mrs. Carter, a pleasure. I'm Robert Mendoza, representative for the Regional Investment Fund." We shook hands. "The pleasure is mine. It's a beautiful property. We looked at it last week. It's in excellent condition." "Thank you." Mr. Romero placed the documents on the table. "All right. We have the purchase agreement here. Mrs. Carter, you cede all rights to the property located at 347 Willow Creek Drive to the Regional Investment Fund for the amount of $265,000. Do you agree? I agree. Mr. Mendoza, does your firm accept the terms? Yes, we accept. Perfect. Please proceed to sign. I signed every page. My hand didn't tremble, not even once. When I finished, Mr. Mendoza handed me the cashier's check. Here you go, Mrs. Carter. $265,000. I took the check. I looked at it. It was a simple piece of paper, but it represented my freedom. And when do you take possession of the house? I asked. Legally as of this moment, but I understand the current occupants need time to vacate. When do you think they can leave the property? I looked at Mr. Romero. Mr. Romero, the eviction notice gives them 30 days. That's correct. Then they have until January 24th. Mr. Mendoza nodded. Perfect. That gives us time to plan the renovations. We're going to turn it into an executive rental. An executive rental. It wouldn't even be Danielle's in any sense. It would belong to strangers, and for some reason, that seemed perfect. I left that office with the check in my purse and the eviction notice in a manila folder. I went straight to the bank and deposited the check. $265,000. It wasn't everything I had invested, but it was enough. That afternoon, I sat in my living room and wrote a letter, not to Danielle, to myself. Dear Emily, today you sold the house you bought for your daughter. Today you reclaimed the money you gave with love. Today you chose your dignity over her comfort. And that's okay. You are not a bad mother. You are a woman who finally understood that love is not begged for that sacrifice, without reciprocity is called abuse, and that sometimes the most loving decision you can make is to walk away. Tomorrow will be a hard day, but it will be the first day of the rest of your life, and that life finally belongs only to you. I folded the letter and put it in my dresser drawer next to the birthday gift I never gave Danielle, next to the bracelet that said, Mother and Daughter Always. Because always had turned out to be a promise that only I was keeping. I went to bed early that night. Tomorrow would be Christmas Eve, the day everything would change, the day I would stop being invisible. And although I knew it would hurt, I also knew I would heal. Because some pain is cleansing, and this was one of them. I woke up on December 24th at 5 in the morning. I had only slept 3 hours, but it wasn't the insomnia of anguish. It was the alertness of someone about to cross a bridge with no return. I lay in the darkness, listening to the silence of my apartment. On other Christmases, I would already be in the kitchen by this hour, preparing the cookie dough, chopping vegetables for the stuffing, simmering the cider with cinnamon and cloves. Those smells that filled the whole house and meant home family love. But this year everything was different. I got up slowly and went to the kitchen. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the city wake up. The first light of dawn painted the sky a pale orange. It was a beautiful day. Ironic, I thought, the most painful day of my life, and the sky was clear. At 8 a.m. my phone rang. It was Danielle. I hesitated to answer. Finally, I swiped my finger across the screen. Hello? Mom, good morning. How are you? Her voice sounded cheerful, falsely cheerful. Fine, honey. And you? Oh, Mom, running around like crazy here. Linda arrived early with everything for dinner. She knew turkey, ham, salads, desserts. She even hired someone to serve the food. It's going to be beautiful. Someone to serve. In the house I paid for, with the money I earned, while I was being treated like a third-class guest. That's great, honey. What time are you getting here, Mom? Dinner is at 7, but you can come early if you want to help set the table. Help set the table. I wasn't even allowed to organize anything, just help. I'll be there at 6:30, Danielle. Perfect, Mom. See you then. Love you. I love you too, honey. I hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand. I love you. When did that phrase become a white lie? When did it stop meaning I value you, I respect you, I include you? When did it just become an empty word said out of habit? At 10 a.m., I went to Mr. Romero's office. He was waiting for me. "Emily, good morning. Are you ready?" "Ready." He handed me a manila envelope. Inside was the eviction notice printed on official paper, with my signature, with the lawyer's signature, with the corresponding stamps. "Notice is hereby given to the occupants of the property located at 347 Willow Creek Drive that they must vacate the premises within a maximum period of 30 calendar days from the date of receipt of this document, as the property has been sold to a third party. The legal owner, Mrs. Emily Carter, exercising her full right, has decided to transfer the title of said property." I read the entire document. Every word weighed on me, but it also freed me. "Are you sure you want to deliver this today?" Mr. Romero asked one last time. "Completely sure." "Emily, they are going to react badly. You know that, right?" "I know. They are going to say things. They are going to be furious. They are going to—" "I know, Mr. Romero. I know exactly what's going to happen. And you still want to do it, especially because of that." He sighed. "You are a very brave woman, Emily." "I'm not brave, Mr. Romero. I'm just tired." I put the envelope in my purse. I left his office and went to church. I'm not a very religious woman, but in the most important moments of my life, I have always gone to church. I entered the empty sanctuary. The light from the candles flickered softly. There was a large nativity scene next to the altar. Mary Joseph, the baby Jesus, the shepherds, the wise men in the distance. A family. I sat in a pew at the back and closed my eyes. I didn't pray. I just breathed. And in that silence, I found something resembling peace. "Forgive me, God," I whispered. "If this is wrong, forgive me. But I can't go on like this." I didn't wait for an answer because I knew the only answer that mattered was in my heart, and my heart had already decided. At 5 p.m, I returned to my apartment. I took a calm shower. I put on a navy blue dress that I had always liked. I put on light makeup. I combed my hair carefully. I put on the silver earrings my husband had given me on our last anniversary before he died. I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in months, I recognized myself. There I was, Emily Carter, 58 years old, accountant, widow mother, but above all, a woman, with dignity, with value, with the right to be respected. I took my purse. Inside was the manila envelope with the eviction notice, and I left my apartment at 6 o'clock. The drive to Danielle's house took 20 minutes, 20 minutes in which I reviewed my entire life. The years of sacrifice, the sleepless nights, the extra jobs, the savings stored dollar by dollar, everything. I had done it all for her. And now I was about to take it away. Not for revenge, but for survival. I arrived at 347 Willow Creek Drive at 6:25. The street was lit up with Christmas lights. The houses glowed with decorations. Carols could be heard in the distance. Happy families celebrating. I parked my car in front of the house that was no longer mine, the house that would no longer be Danielle's either. I took 3 deep breaths and got out of the car, my purse in my hand. I rang the doorbell. Michael opened the door. He was wearing a red sweater with an embroidered reindeer, a wide smile, a glass of wine in his hand. "Emily, Merry Christmas. Come in, come in." I walked in. The house smelled of roasted turkey and cinnamon. There was a huge Christmas tree in the living room, decorated with gold ornaments and white lights. The dining table was set with a white linen tablecloth, porcelain dishes, crystal glasses. There were 6 chairs, not 7. 6. I counted in my head. Danielle, Michael, David, Linda, and the other 2. "Mom, you're here," Danielle said, coming out of the kitchen. She was wearing an emerald green dress. She looked beautiful, happy. "Merry Christmas, honey," I said, hugging her. She returned the hug, but it was a short, awkward hug. "Come, I want to introduce you to someone," she said, taking my hand. She led me to the living room. There was Linda sitting in the main armchair as if she owned the place. She was wearing a wine-colored dress, pearl necklace, perfect hair. Next to her was a young couple I didn't know. "Mom, this is Simon and Lucy Michael's cousins. They came in from Denver." "Ah," the other 2 chairs. "A pleasure." I said, shaking their hands. "Nice to meet you, ma'am," Simon replied. Linda looked me up and down. "Emily, how punctual. Sit down, sit down. Would you like something to drink?" She didn't get up to greet me, didn't even shake my hand. "No, thank you. I'm fine." I sat in a single chair away from the group. David came in from the patio with another glass of wine. "Ah, Emily, good evening. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, David." And there I was, sitting in the living room of the house I bought, surrounded by my son-in-law's family, while my daughter ran back and forth serving appetizers that Linda had brought. Invisible, uncomfortable, out of place. 30 minutes of superficial conversation passed. Simon and Lucy talked about their trip. David commented on the weather. Linda recounted stories from her vacations in Europe. Michael laughed at the right moments. Danielle nodded at everything her mother-in-law said. And I was there, but I wasn't. At 7 o'clock sharp, Danielle announced, "Dinner is ready. Come to the dining room." Everyone stood up, me too. We walked to the table. Linda sat at the head of the table, like the matriarch, like the queen. Michael to her right, Danielle to her left, David next to Michael. Simon and Lucy on the other side. And I was left at the other head of the table alone, at the opposite end, miles away from my daughter. I sat down slowly, and in that moment, something inside me finished breaking. Michael brought the turkey. Danielle brought the side dishes. Linda raised her glass. "Family, before we begin, I want to make a toast." Everyone raised their glasses. I raised mine too, although my hand was shaking. "I want to thank God for this beautiful family we have formed, for my son Michael, who fills me with pride every day, for Danielle, who is like the daughter I always dreamed of having, for this wonderful house where we are gathered today, and for this perfect moment. Cheers." "Cheers," they all shouted. They clinked their glasses. They smiled. They toasted. And I set my glass down on the table untouched, because I had just heard the only thing I needed to hear. For this wonderful house, the house she had not paid for. The house where I was not welcome. The house that in 30 minutes would no longer be theirs. I looked at Danielle. She was laughing at something Simon had said. Happy, carefree, oblivious to everything. Oblivious to me. I got up from the table. "Excuse me," I said. No one looked at me. No one asked if I was okay. I walked to the kitchen. I took out my phone and sent a message to Mr. Romero. "Proceed," he replied immediately. "Understood, in 15 minutes. I put my phone away. I returned to the dining room. I sat in my place, and I waited. They ate. They laughed. They told stories. Linda talked nonstop. Michael listened to her captivated. Danielle poured more wine. And me, I just waited. At 7:30, the doorbell rang. Michael got up. "Are we expecting someone else?" "No," Danielle said, confused. He went to open the door. I heard voices at the entrance. Seconds later, Michael returned pale. "Danielle, there's someone here to see you." Danielle got up puzzled. "Who is it?" "It's a process server." The silence fell on the table like a concrete slab. Danielle left the room. I stayed seated, calm, breathing. Linda frowned. "A process server on Christmas Eve. How disrespectful." 2 eternal minutes passed. Then I heard Danielle scream, "What?" We all got up from the table. We ran to the entrance. Danielle was at the door, an open envelope in her hands. Her face was a mess, white, trembling. Michael read the document over her shoulder. "This can't be. This can't be." "What is it?" David asked. Danielle turned to look at me. Her eyes were full of tears, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. "Did you do this?" Everyone looked at me. I held her gaze. "Yes, Danielle, I did this." "You sold the house." "Yes." "How could you?" "Because it's my house, Danielle. It always was." "But we live here." "You lived here. You have 30 days to vacate." Michael took a step toward me. "Emily, this is a mistake, right? You can't do this. You promised us—" "I didn't promise you anything, Michael. I said I might transfer the house to you someday, but that day never came." Linda stepped forward. Her face was red with indignation. "This is an abuse, an injustice. You can't just throw my son out on the street." I looked her straight in the eye. "Your son is not on the street, Linda. Your son has 30 days to find another place, and he has a mother who boasts so much about her resources that I'm sure you'll be able to help him." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Danielle approached me shaking. "Mom, why are you doing this to us? Are you really asking me that, Danielle?" "Yes, because you made it very clear that I have no place in your life, because you excluded me from your table, because you rejected my love time and time again, because you chose this woman." I pointed to Linda. "Over your own mother. That's not true." "Isn't it? Tell me, Danielle, where was my casserole tonight? Where was my eggnog? Where was my seat at this dinner?" She was silent. "Exactly. There was no room for me, but there was room for all of them. Because you don't accept Michael's family. No, Danielle. Because Michael's family doesn't accept me. And you allowed it." Linda intervened. "You are a resentful and bitter woman." "No, Linda. I'm a woman who finally learned to value herself." "You ruined Christmas." I smiled sadly. "My Christmas was already ruined from the moment your daughter-in-law sent me a message saying you didn't want me here." Danielle turned pale. How did you know about that?" "Because I wasn't the only one who overheard your conversation at the grocery store, honey." Linda looked at Danielle with fury. "You said that in public. Danielle, I didn't know anyone was listening." I approached my daughter. She stepped back. "Danielle, I gave you everything. My money, my time, my love." "And you gave me crumbs. You made me feel invisible. You made me feel like I was the one who was wrong for expecting respect." "Mom, I never—" "Yes, you did, and it's okay. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just tired." I took my purse. "You have until January 24th. The new owner has already paid. The papers are signed. There's no turning back." "Mom, you can't just leave like this." "Of course I can." I walked to the door. Danielle followed me. "Mom, please, we can talk. We can fix this." I stopped. I turned to look at her. "You know what's saddest, Danielle? I would have given anything to hear you say those words 2 months ago. But now it's too late." "It's never too late, Mom." "For some things it is. Merry Christmas, honey." I left that house. I closed the door behind me, and I heard the screams that remained inside, the arguments, the crying, the chaos. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away, without looking back. Because if I looked back, I might have regretted it. And I couldn't regret it. Not now. Not after finally finding my own voice. I drove aimlessly for an hour. The streets were empty. Everyone was at home celebrating, families gathered, tables full, hugs, laughter, and I was alone in my car, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. But I wasn't crying. Not yet. Because if I started to cry, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to stop. I finally pulled over at a viewpoint on the edge of the city. From there you could see the entire city lit up. Thousands of lights twinkling in the darkness. Each light was a house. Each house a family. Each family a story. I turned off the engine. I sat in the silence. And there, in that absolute solitude, I finally breathed. I truly breathed. For the first time in months, I felt my lungs fill completely. There was no one to please, no one to give a fake smile to, no one to make me feel small. Just me. Me and my decision. I took out my phone. I had 15 missed calls from Danielle, 8 messages from Michael, 3 messages from unknown numbers, 1 from Teresa. I opened Teresa's first. "Emily, are you okay?" Danielle called me crying. She told me everything. "I don't know what to say. Just take care of yourself." "I love you, sis," I replied. "I'm okay. Better than ever. Don't worry about me." Then I opened Michael's messages. "Emily, please. We can talk. Danielle is devastated. This is so cruel of you. I didn't think you were capable of this. At least give us more time. My mom is right. You are a very hard woman. Danielle won't stop crying. How can you sleep tonight knowing what you did?" I read each message without feeling anything. Not guilt, not regret, just clarity. Finally, I opened Danielle's messages. "Mom, answer me, please. Mom, I need to talk to you. I can't believe you did this to me. How could you ruin our Christmas?" Michael is furious. "Linda says you're a horrible person." "You know what? She's right. You're selfish. You only think about yourself. You never cared about my happiness. It was always about the money. I wish Dad was alive to see what you've become." That last message hit me like a punch to the stomach. She mentioned my husband. The man who loved me, the man who respected me, the man who valued me. And she used him as a weapon. I closed my eyes. I took 3 deep breaths and wrote my reply. "Danielle, I'm going to answer you one time, then I'm turning off my phone. I didn't ruin your Christmas. Your Christmas was already ruined when you decided I wasn't welcome at it. I am not selfish. I'm a woman who finally understood that self-love isn't selfishness. I did think about myself for the first time in a long time, and I won't apologize for it. And about your dad. Your dad would be proud of me because he taught me that respect is the foundation of love. And you forgot that. I love you, Danielle. I will always love you. But I will no longer allow you to treat me as if I'm invisible. When you're ready to talk, really talk, without screaming, without accusations, without your mother-in-law involved. I'll be here, but not before. Merry Christmas." I sent the message. I turned off my phone. And I put it in the glove compartment. I stayed at that viewpoint until 11 o'clock, watching the city lights, thinking about everything. About the years I had invested in being a mother, the sacrifices I had made, the times I had swallowed my pain, the times I had said, "It's okay," when nothing was okay. And I realized something that filled me with a strange peace. I had done the right thing, not to hurt her, but to save myself, because if I had continued like that, 1 more year, 2 more years, 5 more years, I would have ended up as a shadow, a ghost, someone who only exists to serve. And that wasn't a life. I got back to my apartment around midnight. The streets were still empty. I walked up the stairs slowly. I opened my door, and I entered my space, my small 2-bedroom apartment. No luxuries, no magazine-worthy decorations, but mine, completely mine. I took off my shoes. I took off my dress. I put on my most comfortable pajamas, and I made myself a chamomile tea. I sat on my sofa, and for the first time all night I cried. I cried for the daughter I had lost. I cried for the relationship that had broken. I cried for the dreams that would never come true. I cried for the Christmas I had always imagined and would never have again. But also, I cried with relief, because I didn't have to pretend anymore. I didn't have to smile when I was hurting. I didn't have to make myself small to fit in places that didn't want me. I cried until I had no tears left, and when I finished, I felt empty, but also light, like a 20-year weight had been lifted. I lay down in my bed, I looked at the ceiling, and I whispered into the darkness, "Merry Christmas, Emily. You did it. You survived." And I fell asleep. For the first time in months, I fell asleep in peace. The next few days were strange. I didn't turn on my phone. I didn't answer calls. I didn't open messages. I simply existed. I read books I'd had pending for years. I watched movies I'd always wanted to see. I walked in the park. I had coffee at a quiet cafe. I breathed, without hurry, without guilt, without fear. On December 27th, Teresa came to visit. She knocked softly on the door. I opened it. She looked at me with those worried eyes only a sister can have. "Can I come in?" "Of course." We went inside. I poured her some coffee. We sat in the living room. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm okay." "Emily, you don't have to pretend with me." "I'm not pretending, Teresa. I'm really okay." She looked at me intently. "Danielle has called me every day. She's devastated." "I know. She says you made a terrible mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. She says you ruined her life." "I didn't ruin her life." "I just took mine back." Teresa sighed. "Emily, is there really no way to fix this? Fix it how, Teresa? By giving them the house back, apologizing for defending myself, going back to being invisible. That's not what I mean. Then what is it? She was silent. Teresa, let me ask you something. If you were in my place, what would you have done? I don't know. Yes, you do. Tell me the truth. She looked down. Probably the same thing you did. See? But she's your daughter, Emily. I know. And that's precisely why this hurts so much. But it's also precisely because she's my daughter that I couldn't keep letting her treat me like that. What if she never forgives you? That question cut through me. I was quiet for a moment. Then I'll live with that. But at least I'll live with dignity. Teresa took my hand. You're stronger than I thought. I'm not strong, Teresa. I'm just tired of being weak. She stayed with me all afternoon. We talked about other things. About our childhood, about our parents, about summers at our grandparents' farm, about when life was simple, when love didn't hurt, when being family meant something. Before she left, Teresa hugged me tight. No matter what, I'm with you. Thank you, sis. And Emily, for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Those words sustained me for days. On December 30th, I received an email from Mr. Romero. Emily, I'm informing you that the new owners will take formal possession of the property on January 24th. The current occupants have been notified. So far, they have not sought legal counsel to appeal. I will keep you informed of any developments. So they weren't going to fight it legally, probably because they knew they had no case. The house was mine. I sold it. End of story. On December 31st, New Year's Eve, I spent it alone. I didn't go to parties. I didn't answer invitations. I just made myself a simple dinner, put on some Frank Sinatra, and at midnight I poured myself a glass of wine. I toasted to myself. To you, Emily, for all you survived, for all you let go, for all you're about to build. And I drank, slowly, savoring every sip, not as an escape, but as a celebration. On January 2nd, I turned on my phone for the first time in 9 days. I had 43 messages, most of them from Danielle. I read all of them, and in them I saw the progression of her emotions. Mom, please let's talk. December 27th. Mom, Michael says we have to look for an apartment. We can't find anything in our budget. December 28th. Linda says we can stay with them temporarily, but her house is small. December 29th. Mom, this is a nightmare. December 30th. I packed your things from the room. They're in boxes. Do you want me to bring them, or are you coming for them? December 31st. Happy New Year, I guess. Chad. January 1st. Mom, are you really going to let it end like this? January 2nd morning. That last message made me think. Was I ending this? Or had she ended it months ago without realizing it? I replied with a single message. Danielle, you can bring my things whenever you want. But if you come, come alone. Without Michael. Without your mother-in-law. Without anyone else. Just you and me. If you're willing to do that, we can talk. I sent the message, and I waited. The reply came 3 hours later. Okay, I'll be there Saturday at 10 a.m. Saturday, January 4th, dawned cloudy. I made coffee. I cleaned my apartment. I put fresh flowers on the table. I didn't know if Danielle was coming to fight or to talk, but I was ready for either one. At 10 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath. I opened it. There was my daughter. No makeup. Dark circles under her eyes. Jeans and a sweatshirt. 2 boxes in her arms. We looked at each other. And in that moment, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen in months. Vulnerability. Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. Come in. She entered slowly. She left the boxes by the door. We sat in the living room, in silence, awkward, painful. I poured 2 cups of coffee. I handed one to her. Thanks, she said almost in a whisper. We drank our coffee in silence for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. Mom, I need to understand. What do you need to understand? Why? Why did you do it? Why like that? I looked her in the eyes. because you both made it very clear that I didn't matter." "That's not true." "Danielle, please. You didn't come here to lie to yourself. You came to talk, so let's really talk." She looked down. I didn't realize I was hurting you." "You didn't realize, or you didn't want to realize." She bit her lip. Maybe I didn't want to." "Why?" "Because it was easier to please Linda than to defend you." Those words hung in the air. Finally, the truth. "And now?" I asked. "What do you think now?" She looked up. I saw tears in her eyes. "Now, I think I made a terrible mistake." I felt something move in my chest, but I didn't say anything. I just waited. "Mom, I lost my house. Michael is furious with me. Linda blames me for everything. She says if I had handled you better, none of this would have happened." Handled me. That word turned my stomach. "Danielle, I am not a problem to be handled. I am your mother." I know that now." "Do you really?" "Yes." "Then tell me, if I gave you the house back right now, what would change? Would you include me in your life? Would you respect me? Or would we just go back to the same thing?" She was quiet. "I don't know, Mom." "Exactly. That's why I did what I did. Because I needed you to understand that my love is not unconditional, that my patience has limits, and that I also deserve respect." She started to cry. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." And there I saw my daughter. Not the woman who had hurt me, but the little girl who used to hug me and tell me I was her hero. I got up, sat next to her, and held her. She cried on my shoulder for a long time. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know, honey. I know." When she finally calmed down, we separated. We looked at each other. "Mom, is there any way to fix this?" "Danielle, the house is gone. I can't do anything about that." "I don't mean the house. I mean us." I took a deep breath. "That depends on you. What do you need from me? I need you to respect me. I need you to value me. I need you to remember that I am a person with feelings too. And I need you to set boundaries with your mother-in-law." She was quiet. "I'm not asking you to choose between her and me, but I am asking you not to allow her to disrespect me." Okay. "Yes, Mom, you're right. About everything." "And Michael," she sighed. "Michael is angry, but also, I think he understands too." "He told me something last night. He said, your mom did what she had to do, and we're the ones who made her do it." Those words surprised me. He said that, yes, he's not happy, but he gets it. I nodded. "Danielle, I don't want to lose our relationship, but I can't keep being your mother in half measures. Either you include me in your life for real, or we drift apart." "Yes." She took my hand. "I don't want to lose you, Mom." "I don't want to lose you either, honey. So, can we start over?" I looked at her intently. "We can try, but it's going to take time, and it's going to require real change. I know, and if you ever make me feel invisible again, I will walk away, and this time for good." She nodded. "I understand." We hugged again, and in that hug I felt something like hope. It wasn't total forgiveness, it wasn't forgetting, but it was a start, and sometimes a start is enough. January passed slowly. Like one of those months where everything is on pause, waiting for something to be resolved. Danielle and I started to rebuild our relationship. Slowly, carefully, like walking on broken glass. We met for coffee on Wednesdays. Just the two of us. No Michael, no Linda, no one else. And there, in those conversations, I started to see a Danielle I had forgotten existed. A Danielle who was vulnerable, honest, scared. In one of those coffee meetings mid-January, she told me what was happening. "Mom, we found an apartment. It's small, 2 bedrooms, in a neighborhood we don't love, but it's what we can afford." "When are you moving?" "January 20th, 4 days before we have to be out of the house." "And how is Michael?" She sighed. "He's different." "Different how?" "Quieter, like disillusioned. Not with me, but with everything. With his mother." She looked at me surprised. "How did you know?" "A mother's intuition." Danielle stirred her coffee thoughtfully. "When Linda found out we had to move to a small apartment, she was furious. Not with us. With you. She kept saying you were a cruel woman. How could you leave your own daughter on the street?" "I didn't leave you on the street." "I know, Mom. I told her that too. But she wouldn't listen. So Michael told her something he had never said to her before." "What did he say?" "He said, 'Mom, Emily did what we forced her to do. If anyone is to blame, it's us. Especially me for letting us treat her like that.'" I felt a lump in my throat. "And how did she react?" "She got so angry. She told him he was defending the woman who took everything from us, that he was being a bad son, that she had done everything for him, and this is how he repays her." "And Michael?" "He told her that was exactly the problem, that she always made him feel like he owed her everything, and that he was tired of living with that guilt." I was quiet, processing. "Mom, it was the first time I ever saw Michael set a boundary with his mother, and she did not take it well." "What happened?" "She left the house crying, said she wouldn't come back until Michael apologized." "And did he?" "No. And I think that's what hurts her the most, that for the first time in his life, Michael didn't back down." I took a sip of my coffee. "And how do you feel about all this?" "Relieved, Mom. I feel relieved, because I finally feel like Michael and I are a team. Not Michael, his mom, and me. Just us." "I'm glad to hear that, honey." "But I'm also sad because I see Michael suffering. He loves his mom, but he's also understanding that his mom has manipulated him his entire life. That's a very painful thing to see." "Yes, but I also think it's necessary." I nodded, because it was. Sometimes pain is the only way to wake up. On January 20th, I helped Danielle and Michael move. I showed up at the new apartment with plastic bins, packing tape, and markers. "Mom, you didn't have to come," Danielle said when she saw me. "Of course I did. That's what mothers are for." Michael came out of the apartment carrying a lamp. When he saw me, he stopped. "Emily." "Michael." We looked at each other in silence. He put the lamp down, and he walked over to me. "Emily, I need to tell you something." "Go ahead." "I am so sorry for how we treated you. Danielle and I have talked a lot, and I understand why you did what you did. And even though it hurt and it was so hard, you were right." His words took me by surprise. "Thank you for saying that, Michael. My mom taught me to respect my elders, but I forgot to apply that to you, and that's unforgivable. We all make mistakes, but not all of us pay for them so dearly. Sometimes the highest prices are the best lessons." He nodded. "I hope one day you can forgive us." "I've already forgiven you, Michael, but forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning. I understand." And we shook hands, and in that simple gesture I felt something close. Not a happy ending, but a dignified one. We spent the day moving. The apartment was in fact small, nothing compared to the house. The living room and dining room were one space. The bedrooms barely fit a bed and a dresser. The kitchen was narrow, but it was clean, and it was theirs, with no debts they couldn't handle, with no obligations to anyone. "What are you going to do with the furniture that doesn't fit?" I asked. "We're selling it," Danielle said. "The big dining table, some bookshelves, the whole living room set. We already posted it all online." "And the table?" Danielle looked at me. "The table you gave us?" "Yes. We're selling that too, Mom. It doesn't fit here." I felt a pinch in my chest. That table where I had imagined family dinners, laughter, Christmases. "It's okay," I said. "It was yours. You can do what you want with it." But Danielle noticed my expression. "Mom, if you want it, want." "No, honey, I don't have room for it either." And it was true. That table belonged to a dream that no longer existed. In the afternoon, while we were taking a break, Linda showed up. No one had called her. No one had told her we would be there. She just appeared. High heels, designer bag, dark sunglasses, as if she were arriving at a social event. "Michael, son, I came to see how you were." Michael walked out of the apartment. When he saw her, his expression hardened. "Mom, what are you doing here? I came to help you move." "We don't need help." "Michael, don't be ridiculous. Of course you need help. This is..." She looked at the building with disdain. "This is very different from what you had." "It's what we can afford, Mom." "But you didn't have to end up like this. If only you had... If only I had what Mom forced Emily to just give us a house." "Don't be silly." "I'm not being silly. You never wanted to accept that that house wasn't ours, and you put ideas in our heads. You made us feel entitled to something that didn't belong to us." Linda took off her sunglasses. "Are you blaming me for this?" "I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you the truth. Michael, I only ever wanted what was best for you." "No, Mom. You wanted what was best for your image. You wanted to show off that your son lived in a big house. You wanted to control everything. You wanted Danielle and me to live by your standards." "That is not true." "Yes, it is. And that's why we ended up losing everything." Linda looked around, searching for support. Her gaze met mine. I was standing by the apartment door watching the scene. "You," she said, pointing her finger at me. "You're behind all of this." "No, Linda, I'm just here helping my daughter." "You put these ideas in his head." "I didn't put anything in his head. They made their own decisions." "You're manipulating them." Michael stepped between us. "Enough, Mom. That's enough." Michael's shout echoed down the street. A few neighbors looked out their windows. Linda turned pale. "Michael, don't you raise your voice at me. Then don't provoke me. Emily is my wife's mother, and from now on, you will treat her with respect. If you can't do that, then you are not welcome in our lives." The silence that followed was brutal. Linda looked at her son as if she didn't recognize him. "Are you kicking me out?" "I'm asking you to respect my family." "I am your family. And so is Danielle, and so is Emily. And if you can't accept that, then yes, I'm asking you to leave." Linda took a step back. Her eyes filled with tears. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. "One day, you will regret this. Maybe, but not today." She turned around. She walked quickly to her car, got in, and drove off. Without saying goodbye. Without looking back. Michael stood on the street, breathing heavily. Danielle came out and hugged him. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. He held her tight, and he cried. He cried like I had never seen him cry, because he had just set a boundary he had been avoiding for 30 years. And that hurts, even when it's the right thing to do. That night after we finished moving, we ate pizza on the floor of the new apartment. There was no table yet, no chairs, but we were together. "Mom, thanks for coming," Danielle said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "I will always be here for you, honey, but now, with healthy boundaries." She smiled. "With healthy boundaries." Michael raised his soda. "To new beginnings." We clinked our soda cans. "To new beginnings." And in that moment, in that small apartment sitting on the floor, I felt more like a family than I had in months in that big house. Because family isn't measured in square feet. It's measured in respect, in presence, in real love. The following weeks, I learned from Danielle that Linda had not called Michael. She had completely distanced herself, offended her pride wounded, waiting for him to apologize. But Michael didn't apologize. And little by little, Linda began to feel the weight of her own decision. In February, Teresa called me. "Emily, I have to tell you something." "What happened?" "I ran into Linda at the supermarket. And she's different." Different how? She's alone, Emily. So alone. Her husband works all day. Michael doesn't speak to her. And she just looks sad, older. Like all that pride is just crumbling. I didn't feel joy hearing that. I didn't feel pity either. I just felt understanding. She chose pride over love, Teresa. I know. And now she's paying the price. We all pay the price for our decisions. Don't you feel, I don't know, a little satisfaction? No. I just feel peace. Because it was true. I hadn't done this for revenge. I had done it to save myself. And the fact that Linda was facing the consequences of her own behavior, that wasn't my responsibility. That was karma. That silent justice which arrives when you least expect it. In March, Danielle told me Linda had tried to reach out again. She sent Michael a text, saying she missed him, that she wanted to make peace. And what did Michael say? He told her he missed her too, but that things had to change, that if she wanted to be in our lives, she had to respect our whole family, including you. And what did she say? She got angry again, said he was asking her to humiliate herself, and she hung up. I shook my head. She doesn't understand that respect isn't humiliation. No, Mom, she doesn't. Maybe one day she will. You think so? Maybe. When she's even lonelier. When she understands that pride is a very poor companion in old age. And so it was. Months later in June, Teresa told me that Linda had started going to therapy. She had an anxiety attack that landed her in the hospital. The doctor told her that her blood pressure was dangerously high, that she needed to manage her stress. And finally, in one of those therapy sessions, she had begun to see her own pattern, her need for control, her fear of losing relevance, her way of manipulating through guilt. And has she reached out to Michael? I asked. Yes, 2 weeks ago. She invited him to lunch, and she apologized. Really? Yes, Emily. She told him she had been a bad mother, that she had suffocated him with her expectations, that she regretted trying to control his marriage. And Michael, he cried, Emily. He cried because he finally heard the words he had needed to hear for years. I was silent, processing. And you, Teresa asked, how do you feel knowing that I feel calm? You don't feel like you deserve an apology too. Maybe I'll get one someday, maybe not, but I don't need it to be at peace. Because it was true. Life had taken care of putting things in their place. Linda had lost her relationship with her son. She had lost the control she so desperately needed. She had faced her loneliness, and she had finally understood. Not because of my intervention, but because of the natural consequences of her own actions. That is karma. It's not revenge, it's balance. It's life teaching you with infinite patience that what you sow is what you reap. And I didn't need to see her suffer to feel good. I just needed to know that justice had finally arrived. Silent, inevitable, perfect. It's been 2 years since that Christmas Eve. 2 years since I made the hardest decision of my life. And today, sitting in my small apartment with a cup of coffee in my hands and the morning sun streaming through my window, I can say it was the best decision I've ever made. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. My relationship with Danielle is different now. It's no longer that mother-daughter relationship where I gave everything and she just took. Now it's a relationship between two adult women who respect each other, who care for each other, who choose each other. We see each other every week, sometimes for lunch, sometimes just to walk in the park. We talk about everything. Her job, her marriage, my projects. Because yes, I have projects now. After selling the house, I had enough money to not worry for a while. And I decided to do something I had always wanted to do, but never dared. I took painting classes. Something I had loved since I was a girl, but had abandoned because it wasn't practical, because I had to work, because I had to be responsible, because I had to sacrifice for others. But now I paint. I'm no Georgia O'Keeffe, nor do I pretend to be. But every time I put the brush on the canvas, I feel alive. I feel whole. I feel me. I also joined a group of women my age. We meet on Thursdays at a cafe downtown. We talk about our lives, our children, our pains, our victories. And there I discovered that my story was not unique. There were so many women who had gone through the same thing. Mothers who had faded into the background trying to please. Mothers who had lost their identity along the way. Mothers who had to make painful decisions to save themselves. And in those conversations, I found sisterhood. I found understanding. I found a space where my pain wasn't dramatic, where my decision wasn't cruel, where my story was valid. One afternoon, one of those women told me, "Emily, you are so brave." I shook my head. "I'm not brave. I was just tired." "That's the same thing," she replied. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being exhausted and still taking the step." Those words stuck with me because she was right. I wasn't brave because I wasn't afraid. I was brave because despite the terror of losing my daughter, I chose not to lose myself. Michael and Danielle adapted to their new life. The small apartment became their home. Little by little, they decorated it with love, with simple furniture, with plants, with photographs. And although it was hard at first, Danielle now tells me it's the place she's been happiest. "Because it's ours, Mom," she told me one day. "We don't owe anyone. We don't have to impress anyone. It's just Michael and me." And that was something they wouldn't have learned if I had kept giving them everything. Sometimes the greatest love is letting them fall so they can learn to get up on their own. Michael and his mother finally found a balance. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but after months of therapy, Linda began to change. Not completely. People don't change overnight. But she learned to let go. She learned to respect. She learned that love isn't shown with control, but with freedom. 6 months ago, Michael invited me to lunch, just him and me. We went to a quiet restaurant, and there, as we shared some barbecue, he told me something I'll never forget. "Emily, I know what happened was painful for everyone, but I need you to know something." "What is it, Michael?" "You saved me." I looked at him confused. "How?" "You saved me from becoming my mother. When you sold that house, I was furious. I felt like everything had been taken from me. But over time, I understood. I realized I was living the life my mom wanted for me, not the life I wanted. And if you hadn't done what you did, I would have just kept going like that, trapped, without even realizing it." His voice broke. "Now I have a simple life, but it's my life, and that is priceless." I took his hand. "Michael, I'm so happy to hear you say that." "Thank you, Emily, for everything, even for the pain." I cried in my car on the way home that day, not from sadness, but from gratitude, because finally, everyone had learned. Linda and I never became friends. We probably never will. But we reached a truce, a cold but real respect. We see each other at birthdays, at family gatherings. We greet each other politely. She no longer sees me as a threat. I no longer see her as an enemy. We simply coexist. And that is enough. 3 months ago, Danielle gave me some news. She showed up at my apartment on a Sunday morning with a box of donuts and a nervous smile. "Mom, I have to tell you something." "What is it, honey?" She sat next to me, took my hands. "I'm pregnant." The world stopped. "What?" "I'm going to be a mom, and you're going to be a grandmother." The tears came before I could stop them. I hugged her tight, so tight. "How far along are you?" 2 months. I wanted to be sure before I told you." "And how do you feel?" "Scared, excited, happy, and I want you to be with me through all of it, Mom." "Of course I will be." "No, Mom. I mean, really be with me. I want you to be a huge part of my baby's life. I want you to be the grandmother I had. The one who took care of me, who taught me, who was always there." "Honey, you don't have to ask." "Yes, I do have to ask, because I know I hurt you, and I know we lost time, and I don't want that to happen again. I want my child to grow up knowing they have an incredible grandmother." I hugged her again, and in that embrace, I felt that everything had been worth it. The pain, the loss, the loneliness, everything. Because finally, we were getting a second chance. But this time, with respect, with healthy boundaries, with real love. Yesterday was Christmas, 2 years after that Christmas Eve that changed everything. This time was different. Danielle and Michael invited me to their apartment. David and Linda were there too, and Teresa, my sister. The table was small. The dinner was simple. Danielle cooked a turkey. I brought my sweet potato casserole, the same one that was once rejected. This time there were no leftovers. This time everyone ate. And when Michael raised his glass to make a toast, he said, "I want to thank everyone who is here, especially the women at this table. My mom, who is learning to love me without suffocating me. Danielle, my wife, my partner, my everything." And then he looked straight at me. And Emily, who taught us the hardest and most necessary lesson of our lives, who taught us that love without respect isn't love, and that sometimes the most painful decisions are the wisest ones. Thank you, Emily, for not letting us forget you, for demanding your place, for saving us from ourselves. Everyone raised their glasses, even Linda. We toasted, we drank, and there at that small table in that humble apartment, I felt more at home than ever, because finally, I had what I always wanted. Not a big house, not luxuries, not appearances, just love, real love, love with respect, love that didn't make me invisible. After dinner, Danielle and I were alone in the kitchen washing dishes. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, honey. Do you regret it? Do you regret selling the house?" I was quiet for a moment, drying a plate carefully. "No, Danielle, I don't regret it. But you lost so much money." "I didn't lose money, honey. I invested in something better." "In what?" "In my dignity, in my peace, and finally, in us." She wiped away a tear. "I'm the one who regrets it, Mom." "Regret what?" "Regret making you go through all that. Regret not knowing how to value you. Regret having to lose you to learn how to love you right." I hugged her. "We didn't lose each other, honey. We just found each other again, in a different way. Do you forgive me?" "I forgave you a long time ago. Now you need to forgive yourself." We held each other in that kitchen, mother and daughter, but also woman and woman, with scars, with lessons learned, with renewed love. Today, as I write this story in my notebook, as I watch the sunset from my window, I realize something. Life isn't fair, but it is wise. It takes from you, it breaks you, it forces you to let go. But in the end, it teaches you. And if you pay attention, it transforms you. I reached my 58th birthday thinking my life was already defined, that my role was to be a mother, only a mother, and that meant giving until I disappeared. But I was wrong. Being a mother doesn't mean erasing yourself. It means teaching. And sometimes the best lesson is the example of a woman who respects herself, a woman who sets boundaries, a woman who chooses her peace over the comfort of others. And that woman I found along the way, is me. Emily Carter, 60 years old now, amateur painter, grandmother-to-be, daughter, sister, friend, but above all, a woman, a whole woman, a woman who learned that the most important love is self-love, because when you love yourself, you teach others how to love you, and when you respect yourself, you teach others how to respect you. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fast, but it was worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of loneliness, every painful decision, it was worth it. Because today, I can look in the mirror and recognize myself. Today, I can walk with my head held high. Today, I can say no without guilt. And today, I can say yes without fear. If my story touched your heart, if you recognize something of yourself in me, I want you to know something. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not a bad mother for setting boundaries. You are not cruel for defending your dignity. You are human, and you deserve respect. From your children, from your family, from your partner, but above all, from yourself. Because love that doesn't include you is not love. It's sacrifice. And sacrifice without reciprocity is just abuse disguised as virtue. Don't make yourself small to fit in places that don't value you. Don't apologize for taking up space. Don't beg for love from those who should give it freely. Because you are valuable, you are important, you are enough, just as you are. And if someone doesn't see it, that's their problem, not yours. Sometimes you have to lose to find. You have to let go to receive. You have to break to rebuild. And even if it hurts, even if the path is dark, even if you feel like you won't survive, you will. I know because I survived, and if I could, you can too. Thank you for listening to the end. Thank you for staying with me in this story. Thank you for letting me share my pain and also my healing. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs it, with that mother who is struggling, with that woman who feels invisible, with that person who needs to know they are not alone. Because sometimes one story is enough to change a life, and if it changed yours, then everything I lived, everything I lost, and everything I gained will have been worth it. Subscribe and click the bell to hear more stories from women who transform their pain into wisdom. Every day a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. God bless you. And always remember, your value does not depend on how much you sacrifice. Your value exists simply because you exist.